So first things first, just state your name and your position.
Want to do this while that's on?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're fine.
My name is Adriane Berg. I'm the CEO of Generation Bold. Generation Bold is a consulting company to reach boomers, older adults, and caregivers. We work with profit-making, non-for-profit. We also work with governmental units, and I'm the author of How Not to Go Broke at 102 and several other books.
Great. And can you just tell our viewers a little bit about how you got involved with the Strong Brain, Fit Brain program?
Yes. I am a consultant to the Mental Health Association of Rockland County and a consultant to Rockland County legislature on issues of successful aging and aging in place. It was discovered that the New York State Office for the Aging had a grant available for aging in place and livable communities, and you could come up with just anything that you thought was important. And Dr. Oates, head of the Mental Health Association, and myself thought that what was important was recognition that people who are getting older are competent, are healthy, are cognitively sharp, and people mostly our own selves didn't believe it. And so we decided that what we would do would be smart brain, sharp brain, strong brain, celebrating the aging brain. And we came up with a grant proposal that would implement brain fitness programs throughout the county, would also see if people were doing it, would continue to do it, and would come up with a manual for lay caregivers and for professional geriatric people called, guess what, Celebrating the Aging Brain, which would explain how brains do change, including deteriorate, but also how brain plasticity would make it possible for us to sharpen our brains. What really happens, what parts of our brains get strengthened by age, make us less fearful, and understand more about what's going on. And we got the grant, and the rest is history. We've been then going around making strategic alliances with companies like Cognifit and many others to promote it. And one of the most important parts of it actually is the press, because the press lets the county know what's going on.
Great. And so everything's kind of fallen into place. Was there any difficulties getting involved, or did you just find that most people are helpful? And
I think that there are two great difficulties. One is the fact that this is very early research. Even if you search and search, you'll find perhaps 5 companies that are in cognitive fitness arena for people who are aging. And there's controversy over whether or not these brain programs actually work to strengthen the brain. Now, we're not interested in that. We are interested to see how people who feel vital as they age and their attitude is positive about aging will do things for themselves. And whether or not, I'm just as interested in who isn't going to do this, who would never do this. And we want to get some research on the non-participants. What would stop them, and if it's their attitude toward aging, where they feel that aging is a hopeless decline, we want to know that. So if you want to see what is a barrier here, it's not been a barrier of cooperation, it's a barrier of our own personal attitudes toward how really important this is or not. And I make my analogy is, if somebody had said to me when I was a kid, I'm 62 years old, I skipped gym. I never went to gym. Gym was for stupid people. Smart people didn't go to gym. You have to understand that mentality. If I said that today, a kid would look at me like I'm nuts. But it's absolutely the truth. And could you imagine that change in thinking and in attitude about aging, about what we are entitled and deserve to do for ourselves, what is important in our life? Now that's a 360-degree change in the way we feel about physicality. Perhaps that'll happen also the way we feel about mental acumen and fitness. Now I will say that Dr. Oates also correctly says that when people hear about improving anything that has to do with their mental health, they recoil. And they say, I'm fine. What do you mean? What are you trying to say about me? That's not mental health. Mental health is just about wellness. So if we can change that attitude, we can see a whole difference too in the way services are delivered. So I always have big visions about small things, but it's better than having small visions about big things. You see what I did there?
Good job. Okay, and why do you think there is such a resistance to change when it comes to mental health? People are just so stuck in their ways.
People feel that they'll be stigmatized. That they're stigmatized is that there is something wrong with them.
Okay.
If they make those admissions. And I think that's particularly true of seniors. Even as a baby boomer, and I'm not such a young baby boomer, still I went through the age where people did go to psychologists, they went to psychiatrists, they admitted they did that. Everybody had a new neurosis. Small children now were labeled in school with different kinds of disorders, but seniors never had that. If you had a label of any type put on you, you were nuts. And because they do feel different, perhaps mentally, because they don't want to lose their independence and they don't want anyone to tell them that they need to go into a facility, they would be very, very shy. They would hide any kinds of issues. So this is very important to say. This part is really important. I personally hope that people who are homebound, that people who don't have the stimulation, that some of the people who came up front to this group will do this, because they may be hiding a fear. They bring it out in the open. We can help them in many ways, not just through the cognitive program we have here, but also through the Mental Health Association.
Great. Okay. And what are your expectations for someone who's going through this program? What do you hope to
I think they're going to
get
get stronger. I'm going to do it. I did find out that my hand-eye coordination was poor. I really did, and I really am strengthening it. It's not a joke, and I'm taking it seriously.
Great.
It's also not a disaster. It gives me a heads up. And I will say probably if I continued this way, perhaps I wouldn't be able to drive. And that's what I want to forestall.
And you really believe that after 18 months you're going to see a big improvement?
That's what statistics show. I have an open mind.
Great. And is there anything else you want our viewers to know about the program, about you, your business, anything?
Well, what I certainly would want people to know about us, I mean, if you're asking that personally, I would take the opportunity to say that people like us are around. People like us are specialists in what resonates with the baby boomer, the caregiver, one of the most important. There are now 67.5 million caregivers in the United States. The average age is only 46. People are working. It's a huge, huge cohort. The older adult. And so we help them reach that group in the fields of travel, in the fields of housing, hospitality, frozen foods, anything that help people age in place, stay independent, financial planning. And if there are companies out there that are interested in learning how to reach this group effectively and cost effectively, go to generationbold.com.
Great.
And you'll find out.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Thank you very much.